Hello, friends. It's Sam Cheney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, August 12th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. Just for crinkling, I pushed the button a little early there. Excuse me on the intro. All right, we got a lot of news to get to today. Bobblehead, Leavitt, White House press secretary ladies leaving. Whoop-de-doo. Who's the next Muppet they're going to put up there to lie to us? And of course, your accolades from your government liars. What do we got? We've won the Iran war again, according to Trump. Turns out the Strait of Hormuz is essentially closed. We're going to take a look at the day 165 of the Iran war. Couple of crashes. We had an Apache helicopter crash in Texas, and we had an F-16 fighter jet crash in Turkey. Take a look at that. We have more follow-up from the Colombian earthquake. They're stacking bodies in Colombia. It's like 250 plus. Who knows how many, man. Some of the videos coming out of Colombia, just like everything's collapsing, right? If you've seen those videos, it's crazy. We'll take a look. We'll take another look at that. We had the big solar eclipse. I guess there was rumors. I didn't even follow it. That there's rumors that we're going to lose gravity or something. I don't know. I'm still here, man. I don't know how your guys' experience today was with gravity. My feet are firmly planted on the ground here. Going through all of this insanity. In the news, rank hypocrisy as per usual coming out of the State Department, little Marco Rubio. We'll get to that. The Justice Department with newly confirmed Attorney General Todd Blanche is cracking down on long marriage fraud. They say American citizenship is not for sale. But remember, Trump was selling, him and Lutnick were selling American citizenship not that long ago. We'll take a look at that. The conspiracy, Southern Poverty Lie Center, former chief financial officer indicted on conspiracy charges by the federal government. Take a look at that. More Epstein news today. Bunch of economic news. I had this one out of order. I'm glad I mentioned that going through this. There we go. Now we're straight. What else? Yeah, a whole lot of economic news. Trump's getting sued all over the place. Should be in jail, actually. We know that'll never happen because he never went after the deep state, the government, who did all the corruption before him, because he knows if he does that, it sets the precedent and he can't do all of his crimes. And so the next administration, look for even more crimes because no one in the government is ever held accountable. So we have an organized crime syndicate masquerading as our government saying, yeah, this is democracy. No, it's a crime syndicate. Remember, Trump promised his entire cabinet all the way down to the freaking janitor, everybody here, pardons across the board. So basically telling them, commit unlimited crime because I'm going to pardon you at the end of all this. Unreal. Little Russia-Ukraine news, a bunch of geopolitical news. Panamaxing, Panamax 26, doing a bunch of military drills down there in Central South America, part of the greater North America. We'll take a look at all of that. As what do you do with the drunken Hegseth? Secretary of War Hegseth down there announcing, oh, it turns out Colombia is joining up with us now. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? They've turned Zionist. Now they're joining up with America's counter cartel coalition, A3C. We'll take a look at that. The leveling of Lebanon continues. The genocide in Gaza continues. We have all that, all of those tragic details for you today. People coming online, a shout out to everybody coming online. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. Shout out to Denver and Carrie over there on the Rumble. Thank you guys for joining us. And I did see that, Carrie. I was going to follow up more on that mutiny on the, what is it, USS Abraham Lincoln. Troops are reportedly in very low state of morale right now. We'll cover that. Attempting to flee the ship, jumping off the ship. Reports that their rations are horrible, and it's just all around very bad morale there. We'll get to those reports. Let's get to this day in history. On this day in history, we go back to the year, on this day of August 12th, we go back to the year 3. We couldn't do 33, but we could get a 3 out of today. In the year 3, on this day, conjunction of Venus and Jupiter on August 12th, year 3 BC. I guess that's before Christ. They didn't put BC anyway. A popular theory for the biblical Star of Bethlehem, conjunction of Venus and Jupiter on this day in year 3. And we fast way forward to the year 1480. On this day in 1480, Ottoman troops conquer Otranto in southern Italy after a 15-day siege, killing an estimated 12,000 people, enslaving another 5,000, and beheading 800 Christians for refusing to convert to Islam. 1553, on this day, Pope Julius III orders the confiscation and burning of all Aardvark Talmud, one of the main sources of Aardvark law and theology. I know, the evil Pope Julius III flushing the toilet on this day, 1553. 1658, on this day, we saw the first American police force forms in New Amsterdam, and they went on to beat the hell out of some blacks. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure they probably did, but we know how much we love police brutality here in America. On this day, 1851, American inventor Isaac Singer patents his famous sewing machine. I'm sure everybody at one point in time, I think my grandmother, I think probably both my grandmothers and my mother all had some type of Singer sewing machines. Big part of the Industrial Revolution, actually, there. 1865 on this day, we saw the first antiseptic surgery, not to be confused with the other antiseptics, the haters of all things good, which is actually evil, but in the satanic inversion of reality timeline we're on, we have to do the internet riddles because it seems that people, but we're not anonymous here is the only problem. If we were doing anonymous internet riddles, then we would blow up and everybody would follow us like some crazy cult. We're very public here about who we are, but we still like to dabble in the internet riddles now and again. Anyhow, back to on this day, 1865, British surgeon Joseph Lister performs the first antiseptic surgery using carbolic spray on instruments and bandages. 1869 on this day, self-proclaimed Emperor Joshua Abraham Norton of the United States of America issues an edict abolishing the Democrat and Republican parties. Not a bad sentiment. Maybe we should bring that sentiment back. I don't know about declaring yourself Emperor of the United States of America, but we should definitely abolish the Democrat and Republican parties. So I do appreciate the sentiment there. On this day, 1877, to his amazement, Thomas Edison records himself reciting Mary Had a Little Lamb on his newly completed cylinder phonograph, a device that records sound onto tinfoil cylinders. I know. And they called him a tinfoil hat guy. 1898 on this day, Hawaii's formally annexed to United States of America. Also on this day, 1898, Spain declares war against the United States. Peace protocol ending the Spanish-American War is signed. On this day, 1908, we may have to go back to the Model T with all this surveillance. What is it? The beginning of next year, right? You got to have the black box surveillance in your car and all this facial recognition. You essentially got to take a DUI test before they let you drive your car. You may be impaired. We may have to go back to a old school Model T. On this day, 1908, Ford Motor Company builds its first Model T car, which Henry Ford himself tests on a hunting trip to Wisconsin and northern Michigan. We may have to just bring back the Model T right there. Without all this damn surveillance. And do we need a screen? Do we really need a screen in our freaking car? We need to get from point A to point B and not be endlessly entertained, distracted. And who was it? The 49ers NFL football team coach recently got in a car accident in his Tesla and said, "Oh yeah, I was on autopilot." So maybe everybody's not on their cell phone staring at screens when you're driving an automobile, and we just try to get from point A to point B. Just saying. 1930, on this day, Clarence Birdseye is granted a patent for a method for quick freezing food. Very, very important invention, actually, to help preserve food and make it last longer. On this day, 1943, alleged date of the first Philadelphia experiment test on United States Navy ship USS Eldridge. If you ever looked into that, that's some crazy claims about the Philadelphia experiment. On this day in 1945, Emperor Hirohito of Japan informs the imperial family he has decided to surrender. Sad news there for Japan. On this day, 1972, last American combat ground troops leave Vietnam, thankfully. On this day in 1992, Canada, Mexico, and the United States announced completion of negotiations for the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA. And as old Ross Perot said, you will hear a giant sucking sound of American jobs going overseas. And we saw that happen. The controlled demolition of the American working class, proudly sponsored by our government since 1992 and before that. But NAFTA really took a giant chunk out of the American working class, shipping a lot of jobs overseas. 2013, on this day, Whitey Bulger found guilty. Whitey Bulger, an American organized crime boss, is found guilty on 31 of 32 racketeering and firearms counts and is found to have been involved in 11 murders. It's also reported as a rat for the feds. Side note there. 2017, on this day, Unite the Right March in Charlottesville, Virginia turns violent when a car rams protesters, killing 1 and injuring 19. And I do believe the Southern Poverty Lie Center, who I'll report on their conspiracy indictment later in the show, had a hand in this Unite the Right fake Nazi rally. It was designed to divide America and try to start a race war, essentially. They want a race war very bad. They're consistently trying to start a race war in this country. And on this day in 2021, Britney Spears' father says he will step down as her conservator after the singer calls his conservatorship abusive amid a hashtag Free Britney campaign. I do believe poor old Britney Spears is a victim of MK Ultra style mind control, trauma-based mind control. She grew up a Disney kid, right, on was a stupid Mickey Mouse Club or whatever, and been in entertainment her whole life. I do believe she's a victim of severe trauma-based mind control abuse. So let's pray for old Britney Spears there. And on this day in our civil liberties history, we go back to the year 1922. Groups launch a war on censorship. A coalition of groups representing actors, authors, motion picture producers, screenwriters, printers, and others on this day announced a war on censorship in the arts, calling itself the Joint Committee for the Promotion and Protection of Art and Literature. The new group singled out the Society for the Suppression of Vice as the lead instrument of censorship. On the Society October 3rd, 1915, the Society had been founded and led for many years by the notorious Anthony Comstock, who had helped pass the Comstock Act, the federal censorship law in 1873. The law made it illegal to send birth control information or devices through the U.S. mail. The new group was led by journalist George Creel, who famously headed the Committee on Public Information, CPI, the federal government's propaganda agency during World War I. And on this day in 2013, in our civil liberties history, New York City's police's stop and frisk practices ruled unconstitutional. A U.S. district judge in Floyd versus New York City on this day declared the stop and frisk practices of New York City Police Department unconstitutional in violation of both the 4th and the 14th Amendments. The stop and frisk controversy had raged for 14 years in the city, while the New York Police Department and Mayor Michael Bloomberg refused to listen to continuing community complaints. At its peak in 2012, New York Police Department officers stopped over 600,000 people and frisked about half of them annually. About 86% of those stopped were people of color. Additionally, only 12% of those stopped were arrested or given a citation, meaning the police were wrong 88% of the time. Get it? 88% of the time. You get that? The New York Police Department, evidently responding to public controversy, began to reduce the number of stop and frisks about 2 years before the court decision on this day. The number continued to fall after the decision. At the same time, crime in New York City continued to decline, undermining the argument of New York Police Department and New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg that stop and frisk were necessary to fight crime. And here's our segue to the news. This came across my news feed on the X, kind of creepy, NRO. If you're new to it, welcome to the intelligence community, IC. The IC is a network of organizations that provide critical information to decision makers at every level, from the foxhole to the White House. And they put out this from NRO, and they put out this clip right here. Segue to the news.
The intelligence community, also known as the IC, is a collection of organizations who provide information to key decision makers, from the foxhole to the White House. You may have heard of organizations in the intelligence community, such as the CIA, FBI, DEA, NSA, and Space Force. Each has a unique and specific role. The NRO's role in the intelligence community is to fly satellites in space that spy on our adversaries by collecting information.
Why do we even have an intelligence community to spy on you and I? The White House doesn't listen to them. They told Trump, don't attack Iran. There's no reason. There's no imminent nuclear threat to America. National Reconnaissance Office, above and beyond. They're pumping a bunch of this space propaganda. Global leader in space-based intelligence, they say. Here's their website. nro.gov. Fancy website, you could see. We partner with industry. Yeah, they should just say we love fascism. Launch your future. Yeah. So I don't know, just kind of weird. That popped up on my feed. I was like, what? The IC. If you're new to it, welcome to the intelligence community. Weird. Okay. Here's old Jon Stewart with Fetterman.
But is there anything you would criticize Israel about?
No, what I would say is that I have not a single.
I don't know what came out of there. That came out all funky. Anyhow, Jon Stewart asked him, is there anything you would criticize about Aardvarkland? Fetterman said no, as it should be, right? Here's old Ma'am Danny. They're trying to rebrand woke. Now they're saying, oh, woke 1.0 was crazy, and they're like eating around the edges. We're going to do a woke 2.0, but that's going to be less crazy. Just know you're bad for being white, and that's all you really need to know about it. Here's Ma'am Danny when asked about woke 1. What is up with all these videos? They're like, that's not good. That's weird. All these videos are like playing all funky on the X for me right now. Anyhow, Ma'am Danny was asked earlier today by a reporter. Of course, he's in New York City. This dude, right? New York City mayor. That dude. I'd play the video, but it's playing all funky. He was asked earlier today by a reporter, do you think woke 1 was crazy? Ma'am Daddy said, I think that each person has a responsibility to tell New Yorkers, to tell Americans when they're running for office what they believe. Sometimes what you believe can change, it can develop, it can grow. I've made very clear that I do not believe in defunding the police, that I will not be defunding the police, and that, to me, delivering critical public safety also looks like working with our police department alongside many other partners. And we've seen over the first 7 months of this administration what that can look like when we're talking about the fewest murders on record in New York City, the fewest shooting incidents on record in New York City. And that, to me, is now a measure, is how we measure a lot of our public safety. I don't know if it's just that channel, but like, what was up with that funky video? Sadly enough, we'll try to see if we can fix it live here throughout the show. Sadly enough, Bobblehead Levitt, liar. I guess we'll play this one for you. She's stepping down now and leaving the Trump administration. I know, I'm sad as you are that we don't get to hear her lies, but they'll roll out another liar soon enough.
Ignore the panicans and trust in President Trump.
That's weird. There's something going on with the video today. It's it must be Restream over here. I don't know. Let's see what this does, if this can change it. That's weird. I've never seen that happen before. Well, it just must be, it might just be me talking. As some viewers have said, just talk, and we don't even want to see the clips. Let's try it one more time. It's got to be Restream because this is embedded video.
Ignore the panicans and trust in President Trump.
With Restream. anyhow, I guess it'll just be me, and we'll not have audio on clips today because something is going on funky with the restream. Okay, continuing. We'll power through it on this live broadcast. Yeah, Trump bids her a farewell. Here it is. Our wonderful White House press secretary and one of the most trusted aides, Carolyn Levitt, will be departing her role at the end of the month so she can spend more time with her beautiful. Well, she did just have a kid, you know what I mean? So, yeah, get on out of here. Bring in another liar. So, see you later, bobblehead. And she put out a big old statement. I'm not going to read it. I could honestly care less. Okay, continuing here. So I saw this circulating yesterday, and it's more reports coming about it. Turns out Trump's ex-wife, Marla Maples, has started. She did an interview with Aardvark Land Channel 12 News, and she said that Trump's carrying the book of Pinchanis, the book of Zohar in Aramaic. He puts it over his heart inside for protection and healing. It's part of the Talmud Kabbalah. So more proof that indeed Trump is a dark occultist, as we've been calling out here on this broadcast for a while now. There you go. So indeed, confirmation from Trump's ex-wife that he is indeed a dark occultist right there. Puts a Satan book over his heart. There you go. There you go. She may fall down the stairs soon. I hope nothing bad happens to her, but hey, didn't Trump push what was her name? Ivana Trump, right? His, I don't even know which wife, but he's a great Christian, divorced all these times, killed his wife, allegedly, right? Pushed her down the stairs. Didn't he bury her at his golf course or something? Just insane. And now here's one of his ex-wives, Marla Maples, claiming that he carries around Satan books for good luck. Not surprising, honestly. Now we fixed the audio. I don't know what was up with those funky couple first clips. Let me try it again here. It might have been those clips because we got good audio on these. I don't know. That was weird. So tragically enough, Apache attack helicopter crashes in Texas, killing the pilots there. Here's the video of that, and I do believe the audio is good. That was weird. I don't know.
At approximately 1:34 p.m., we received 911 calls regarding a helicopter that had crashed about a half a mile to the west of 16,400 block of Kirkendall Road, south of Salado. Bell County Sheriff's Office responded and noted not only a helicopter crash, but then also a wildfire that was out of control. The ESD.
Geez, like we don't have enough wildfires to get out of control. Now this one caused by a Apache helicopter crash in Texas. Tragic accident there. This one's even more crazy. Shocking footage of the moment Turkish F-16 fighter jet crashes right here in Turkey. Some aviation accidents are going on today. No audio on this, obviously. Oh, yeah, it's fine. It was just going in for a landing. Oh, no. Yeah, that wasn't a landing. That was a crash. I guess a crash landing. And I do believe I was reading earlier, they said that pilot ejected safely. We couldn't see him in that shot there. Yeah, pilot survived after ejecting. Crazy enough in that crash. All right, Trump posted this about Strait of Hormuz, and we'll get Iran's comments on it. The USA has complete control over the Strait of Hormuz. I think we will keep it. Our naval blockade is being called by everyone a wall of steel. There is nothing Iran can do about it. They have no Navy. They have no Air Force. The remaining soldiers are unpaid. The IRGC is decimated and fleeing, and their, quote, leadership is uncertain at best. They have no money. Their country is shot. All they have is fake news and 300% inflation. Is he talking about America? Oh, no, he's talking about Iran. Oh, I get confused sometimes. And getting worse. Iran is all talk and no action. The bully of the Middle East no longer. Praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. Iran launched missiles and drones at targets in Iraq's Erbil province earlier today, reportedly targeting fighters belonging to the Iranian Kurdish opposition group Kamala, different spelling than our former VP, and the Kurdish Democratic Party of Iran. Iran rejects reports of ceasefire extension with Washington. Iran has rejected claims and reports that it has agreed to a 60-day ceasefire extension with Washington, sources told Reuters earlier today. The report came as Turkish media claimed an extension agreement had been made. There were no discussions between Iran and the United States to extend their ceasefire, Reuters reported, citing Iranian sources. Just call it a ceasefire and keep shooting at each other. That's how they get down, right? U.S. intelligence says Iran has shifted focus from nuclear program to Strait of Hormuz. A military intelligence assessment has determined that Iran's strategic focus has shifted from its nuclear program to Strait of Hormuz, NBC reported earlier today, citing two U.S. officials familiar with the assessment. The official said the assessment concluded that Tehran now supposedly considers the strait a more powerful and effective source of leverage than its nuclear program, particularly after early strikes targeted Iran's nuclear facilities. U.S. military officials have also warned U.S. President Trump that any attempt to seize the strait would be lengthy, costly, and deadly with no guarantee of success. According to the report, 3 European officials and 2 Arab Gulf officials backed the assessment, saying a military effort to reopen the Strait of Hormuz would be a prolonged and risky operation that could leave U.S. warships vulnerable to cruise missiles and drone attacks, drive oil prices even higher, and fail to deliver a clear American victory. The Trump administration disputed the assessment, saying the Strait of Hormuz was under the complete control of the U.S. Navy and that Washington's blockade meant nothing would reach Iran without U.S. approval. An administration official said the strait is an international waterway that is not controlled by any party, adding that any temporary routes would operate without approvals, permissions, tolls, or other charges. See, they don't even listen. Why do we have the intelligence is telling the correct thing to the decision makers? And they're like, who cares what you say? Go aardvark land. We kill anybody. And it's just insane. So they're not fit for duty. They don't even listen to our intelligence agency. It's trying to get us out of this damn thing, obviously, and telling them, you're not going to win, bro. And it's going to be lengthy, costly, and deadly. We're already there. It's already lengthy, costly, and deadly. They want to make it even worse with no guarantee of success. I don't know. Maybe, hey, Trump listened to the intelligence community who said, don't even attack them in the first place. They're not an imminent nuclear threat. And the State Department said it as well. We played it for like 2 weeks and showed you right on the State Department website, for God's sake. It's just ridiculous. Iranian Quds Force commander holds secret Baghdad talks as Iraq seeks Strait of Hormuz oil transit guarantees. The commander of Iran's Quds Force, Brigadier General Ismail Qani, made an unannounced visit to Baghdad Monday to meet with leaders of the Shia Coordination Framework and Iran-aligned resistance factions, according to the New Arab. During the hours-long talks, Qiani reportedly urged faction leaders to avoid direct armed confrontation with state security forces ahead of Prime Minister Ali al-Zadi's September 30th deadline to bring arms under state control, while arguing that the disarmament push is a product of U.S. pressure and refusing to commit to Tehran accepting the surrender of weapons. Simultaneously, Iraqi officials used the high-level meetings to press Tehran for firm, reliable guarantees that Iraqi oil tankers will be allowed unhindered passage through the Strait of Hormuz. This economic demand underscores Baghdad's precarious financial vulnerability as mounting export disruptions threaten the state's capacity to meet core obligations, including public sector salaries. And the Quds Force commander, Qani, is this dude right here. Just to give you an idea about who we are talking about there. U.S. embassies across West Asia have been placed on high alert amid growing concerns over a potential direct confrontation with Iran. CNN reported that the U.S. State Department has instructed its embassies in the region to prepare plans for operating with minimal staff as tensions escalate. Employees who were previously evacuated from their post have also been offered options to end their diplomatic assignments. Not good. Not a good sign. So this guy went on PBS. Iranian General Mohammad Raza Nakhudai. There are a bunch of clips of him. This dude had an interview with PBS. Yeah, nothing. He said, the longer this war lasts, the more we gain. We had never seen a real war, gain real experience to learn how to fight with America. In the last 5 months, we've learned how. We have also seen how the American military is weaker than we had perceived it to be. A senior Iranian official told Reuters that Tehran and Washington held no discussions regarding the extension of the ceasefire. We covered that, but yeah. Tehran pivots to offensive military doctrine amid U.S. and Aardvark war. Tehran is aggressively restructuring its military command under Supreme Leader Khomeini, installing hardline veterans in key posts to transition toward an offensive doctrine. CENTCOM earlier today said they disabled 3 ships and boarded 2 so far in the steel wall blockade against Iran. Persian Gulf Strait Authority denies U.S. claims that Strait of Hormuz is open, will not reopen until Iran's conditions are accepted. And yesterday, Iran was saying that they're done and they're just going to wait for Trump to term out. Here's that report. Claims and repeated posts by U.S. officials that the Strait of Hormuz is no longer blocked do not change the reality. The Strait of Hormuz remains blocked and will not reopen until Iran's conditions are accepted. You can see the Persian Gulf Strait Authority post right there. Rights groups sued Trump over sanctions shielding Aardvark land from ICC, International Criminal Court. Under the sanctions regime, anyone in the United States assisting the sanctioned ICC officials or Palestinian rights groups could face up to 20 years in prison. 4 U.S. rights groups have sued U.S. President Trump and his senior officials yesterday over a sanctions regime that exposes anyone in the United States to 20 years in prison and fines up to $1 million for assisting the International Criminal Court, including its prosecution of Aardvark land officials over war crimes in Gaza. The plaintiffs are the American Friends Service Committee, the Center for Constitutional Rights, Human Rights Watch, and Open Society Institute. The groups are demanding that the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York declare the entire sanctions regime unlawful, block the administration from enforcing the designations already issued, or making any new ones, and bar it from pursuing the civil and criminal penalties attached to violations of the order. I don't know. That's weird. Some videos audio play and some don't. I don't know. That's weird. And this one doesn't play. Well, I don't even mess with it. Happy birthday, George Soros, the GOAT. They don't even hide it. The GOAT of Mindy's. So it's George Soros's 96th birthday. His son, Alex Soros, made this post on the X. Happy birthday, the GOAT, George Soros. Today is the GOAT's 96th birthday. Love you, Dad. And I reposted it, GOAT, and people were like, are these people even capable of love? I think it was Ruckus was like, I think they're going to throw dude off the freaking cliff right there. May very well be. We want nothing but a long life there for old George Soros. Happy birthday, GOAT. On to the solar eclipse now. There's a big solar eclipse. Do we even care what NASA says about it? NASA's been reporting on it all day. Yeah, big NASA party about it. They're pretty pumped. Here's some video. This is a video out of Iceland. Total eclipse. Out of Iceland.
Gosh, look at that. It must be so magical. I wish we were there. Maybe we should have done this gig
No
in Iceland.
audio.
I'm surprised you didn't go.
We can see it sneaking out there a
Listen,
little
we're
bit.
very glad you're here. So now, this is the phenomenon that we were talking about earlier. The
Exciting
corona.
stuff, huh?
Just
And did anybody out there lose their gravity for 7 seconds or whatever that was? I just was catching it on the periphery. Here's where's this at Mall Orca Beach. This is a pretty good shot right here. You can see the people gathered there on the beach.
Sun, but when we look at the surface of the sun, it's about 5,000 degrees Celsius. But the corona is sort of the atmosphere around it, which produces these coronal mass ejection events that cause the aurora, the northern lights, that you get to sometimes see here. That is about 1 million degrees Celsius, and we genuinely don't understand how it heats up to such a temperature.
Yeah. Fishing.
Yeah, that was a pretty good shot there. I think we have a little bit more about it. This is a good shot right here, shorter. This is in Spain. A really great shot, actually, with the sunflowers. Yeah, the sun came back, thankfully. Wow. Okay, on to earthquake news now. Death toll still coming out, tragically enough, out of Colombia. Colombia, 3 days ago, suffered the 7.4 magnitude earthquake. Latest reports here, more than 250 people have been reported dead and over 3,000 remain missing. Here's some video of the damage there. It's quite apocalyptic.
¿Puedo abrir acá? Ay, bebé, acompáñame. ¿Me puede abrir acá? Ya que se cae. Dios mío. Mira, se subió este colegio.
We have some more video here out of Venezuela. Looks like this is some drone footage. We can get that perspective of some of the damage done there. It's quite horrific. No audio here, but you can see they leveled a place like Aardvarkland loves to level Gaza and Lebanon, right? And everybody else in their way. So is this God's hand? The ring of fire coming alive? Was it earthquake weather weapons? I don't know, but what we do know is it killed hundreds of people. Thousands are missing. I'm sure the tolls will continue to rise here and cause massive destruction across Colombia. Again, that's not the Gaza Strip. That's Colombia. Similar apocalyptic hellscapes. All right, about 10 minutes. Well, let's get into old Todd Blanche. He's now the Attorney General of America. And so they're targeting fraudsters. They tell us they are fraud. They're covering up Epstein files, doxing victims. Todd Blanches announces charges against 11 individuals for overseeing an extensive decades-long marriage fraud scheme involving more than 1,000 sham marriages between Chinese nationals and U.S. citizens. Then the submission of fraudulent applications for green cards. So weird what's going on with the audio. It's got to be something to do with Restream. Anyhow, here's old Blanche was making that announcement. I'll just show you there he is making the announcement. Todd Blanche laid out details of the marriage fraud scheme. Gaining American citizenship and legal status to reside in this great nation is a sacred privilege and we will ensure it is always done in accordance with the law, protecting our communities and national security. But turns out, and then little Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, in conjunction with this, says American citizenship is not for sale, but elaborate birth tourism rings are profiting off the exploitation of America's laws, coaching foreigners to defraud the U.S. visa system, arranging travel and housing, and even forging documents, all to enable foreign nationals to obtain citizenship for their children. The State Department established a birth tourism prevention task force to review the activity of visa holders, dismantle illegal birth tourism networks, and put an end to this hideous abuse of our nation's laws. In just 1 month, the Birth Tourism Prevention Task Force has taken action to revoke more than 600 visas from foreign nationals across the globe and will continue to safeguard our nation from this abuse. The State Department will use all available tools to dismantle birth tourism networks and defend the integrity of U.S. citizenship. Yeah, that all sounds well and good. Law and order, America. Well, it turns out their own guy is selling citizenship. Trump with the, remember this? Him and Lutnick cooked up this scheme. Trump is literally selling U.S. citizenship. The Trump gold card, unlock life in America, trumpcard.gov. Remember this? So maybe they need to, I don't know, take a look at your boss there, Trump, literally selling American citizenship here for a $15,000 DHS processing fee after background approval, a contribution of $1 million, receive U.S. residency in record time with the Trump Gold Card. Trump Premium Card coming soon. Foreign nationals can sign up now and secure their places on the waiting list for the Trump Platinum Card when launched, and upon receipt of the $15,000 DHS processing fee and $5 million contribution, they will have the ability to spend up to 270 days in the United States without being subject to U.S. taxes on non-U.S. income. What a freaking racket, man. And that's a special benefits for individuals, special benefits for businesses. Trump Corporate Gold Card for a $2 million contribution, receive U.S. residency in record time with the Trump Corporate Gold Card for your employees after a $15,000 DHS processing fee and background approval. On board your preferred candidate. Your Trump Corporate Gold Card allows your business to transfer access from one employee and grant it to another with a small 5% transfer fee, which includes the cost of DHS background check. A 1% annual maintenance fee will also apply. They're running the government's an organized crime syndicate that Trump's running a racketeering operation. Don't tell little Marco, American citizenship is not for sale. All right, before the top of the hour, let's go ahead and get the Southern Poverty Lie Center conspiracy out of the way. And play this clip. DOJ charges former Southern Poverty Law Center CFO with fraud. Turns out they're indicted on conspiracy charges: wire fraud conspiracy, conspiracy to submit false statements to a federally insured bank, and conspiracy to conceal money laundering. Call me crazy, but SPLC are a bunch of conspirators. Here's a report from ABC News about this conspiracy indictment.
Charges against one of the nation's organizations. The Trump administration claims the Southern Poverty
today, for some reason on the clips. I don't know what is up with that. Something to do with the restream. I'm going to have to read it to you then, because I was going to play you this clip, but we're having audio issues. Oh, now it came on. I don't know. Anyhow, Heidi Byerich, former CFO of the Southern Poverty Law Center, was arrested in California on charges of fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, and money laundering related to secret payments to informants in white supremacist groups. They were part of that Charlottesville. Heidi Byerich, who previously led the Southern Poverty Lie Center's project tracking hate groups, was arrested for allegedly overseeing undisclosed payments to informants embedded in white supremacist organizations, including the Ku Klux Klan and Neo-Nazi National Alliance. She faces a superseding indictment charging her with wire fraud, conspiracy to submit false statements to federally insured bank, and conspiracy to conceal money laundering. Prosecutors allege that some payments were routed through shell companies and fictitious bank accounts to conceal the source and purpose of the funds. Alleged misconduct. She is accused of sharing a bank account with one of the informants, who is also her romantic partner and cohabitant at the time. This account reportedly contained approximately $140,000 from SPLC payments, part of over $1 million paid to the informant since 2007. They paid a rat $1 million. He must have been setting up a lot of people for that much, right? The indictment claims that she helped open bank accounts under fictitious company names and directed donor funds for purposes not accurately described, including payments to an imperial wizard in the KKK. Well, where else would your money go from the Southern Poverty Lie Center? Legal implications on SPLC. Her arrest is part of a broader federal probe into Southern Poverty Lie Center's financial practices, which include allegations of fraud, money laundering, and misuse of tax-exempt funds. The case has drawn attention to the SPLC's internal operations, the handling of donor funds, and the legal boundaries of non-profit informant programs. Interim SPLC President Brian Fair has defended the organization, emphasizing the importance of its work against violent hate groups by staging up acts of violent hate using informants and the like. So we do appreciate all the efforts to try to start a race war in America by the Southern Poverty Lie Center and all of their hate. All right, with that, let's take the live commercial break. Give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. Apologies today. I don't know what's going on with the audio here, but we're having audio issues on the clips anyway. So apologies for that, but we'll power through it here and still get you as informed as you can possibly be watching Weaponized News. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself a holograph sticker over there. We have the white background sticker and we have the clear sticker. Weaponizednews.com/shop. We got coffee mugs, t-shirts, baseball caps, all kind of gear over there, shot glasses. Some listeners say this show may induce heavy bouts of drinking. Any which way you choose to celebrate all the great news we have to bring you, whether it's sporting a Weaponized News holograph sticker on your laptop, bumper, guitar. Some places they've been spotted out there in the wild, or sporting a Weaponized News t-shirt, or taking a shot of your favorite beverage out of a Weaponized News shot glass, however it may be. We appreciate all of the support out there. Patron our store at weaponizednews.com/shop. Links in the description below this video. Become a donor. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App. Links are all in the description below this video. We take donations. Become a paid subscriber of Weaponized News Substack. Nothing's behind a paywall. Weaponized News Substack, we're streaming there live. We'll provide you a summary of the show, of course, the full show, and links to almost everything we talk about for documentation and further research purposes. It's all free there. Show your support for independent reporting and analysis brought to you 5 days a week. Broadcasting live Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern time on all your big tech platforms. Weaponized News, Substack, links in the description below this video. Become a paid subscriber. Any which way you choose to support us is much appreciated. Give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. All that is free for you. Okay, let me, we had a supporter out there, Palladium. I wanted to give him a shout because I've been missing him. He did give us a couple super chats on the YouTube. Thank you very much, Palladium. So I'm giving your shout out today. He commented on that Greg Reese video, I think yesterday, said, this new age BS is tiresome. I kind of like it. Something to think about. I don't, is any of it true? I have no idea, but it's something to think about and interesting. I do believe. And what was some other comments? I don't have them here. I said, send me a message on the X and I will read your comments there, Palladium. It's kind of hard to go through all the medias, all the social medias and get all the comments. But again, shout out, and I do appreciate it. We can send me on the X the message you want me to read, and that'll make it a lot easier for me, please. And I will read it here. And I do appreciate your donations on the X there. Okay, where are we at here? We still got a lot of news to get to for you today. We got through Southern Poverty Lie Center, conspiracy indictment. Wow, we got a lot here, actually. Okay, welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Wednesday, August 12th, 2026 edition. Let's get into Epstein now. As we usually do about this time, we have to continue to report on Epstein because they don't want us to report on it. Trump literally started a major war with Iran to distract away from the Epstein files release. I reported on this yesterday. I have not had the time, but sometime when I get some time, I'm going to go watch this show. Reported on it again yesterday. It's come out now that Law and Order SVU from 1999, season 1, episode 2, they highlighted Epstein. You could see right here. So somebody knew something right in the script there. This is again from SVU, season 1, episode 2, 1999. Epstein right there on the spine of that binder, you can see highlighted there. And so again, I haven't had time to go watch that, but I will go watch that episode. Very interesting. I do believe that somebody was trying to point out, or is it revelation of the method? I probably think it's more of that, but however you may see it, in 1999, nobody knew what that was even about, right? But they were signaling on Law and Order SVU, and that episode is about Epstein type activities. And coincidentally enough, they had a binder labeled Epstein, as we just saw. So I wanted to re-report on that. I thought it was very interesting. The predictive programming, the revelation of the method. Maybe it's a whistleblower inside there. It could be a combination of all three or none of it. And it's just dumb luck. I have a hard time believing that. There are no coincidences. Everything is weaponized against you and I. That's why we have to do this show. Continuing here now. Ghislaine Maxwell loses bid to block release of Epstein victim files tied to Virginia Giuffre's 2015 lawsuit. A federal judge has ruled that undisclosed documents related to government investigations on Epstein can be made public. U.S. District Judge Loretta Preska in New York granted a disclosure request by the Department of Justice yesterday. She explicitly rejected arguments from co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell to keep materials under seal. Judge ruled that the Epstein Files Transparency Act takes precedent over previous orders, grand jury secrecy, and Maxwell's privacy claims. If documents remain unreleased, the public will be left with an incomplete and potentially misleading picture of Maxwell and Epstein criminal activities, which would risk undermining the public trust Congress sought to promote, the judge wrote. Congress has like 12% approval rating or something. You're never regaining public trust. Congress, as it should be, don't trust the government. But at least this judge is naive enough to think they can rebuild public trust in their crime syndicate known as the government, trying to add some transparency here, releasing some more Epstein files potentially, but I have my doubts the Justice Department will follow this ruling. We'll have to see. Kathy Rumler, that's the former top Obama administration attorney and Goldman Sachs top attorney. Kathy Rumler went from advising Epstein on how Maxwell's lawyer could set up a perjury trap for Virginia Guthrie, writing that the age issue is perfect for that, to chairing Goldman Sachs firm-wide conduit committee, asked whether Goldman ever raised concerns about her remaining on its conduit and reputation risk committee after her Epstein relationship became public. Rumler testified, "No, I can't imagine why they would have." Yeah, why would Goldman Sachs care about reputational risk? U.S. Representative Ledger Fernandez and New Mexico Attorney General announced proposal aimed at unreleased Epstein files. I don't know what and Massey and Ro Khanna are saying that Epstein files transparency too. Bro, we already got the law on the books. They don't give a damn. What's caught passing another law going to do? Ain't going to do jack, especially with Todd Blanche now as acting attorney. Well, he's the official attorney general now. So he's going to block it, okay? Because he's Trump's personal attorney, a New York Democrat liberal, and his job is to obfuscate and block Epstein investigation. A member of New Mexico's congressional delegation and state attorney general Raul Torres earlier today announced a newly proposed legislation that they say will help law enforcement agencies across the nation file legal challenges against the U.S. Department of Justice when it refuses to release documents related to the late sex offender Epstein. So now all the states are Democrat states because it's political. If we had law and order, as they all yell, then every freaking state would be suing them and saying, give the people law and order like we deserve. But they're going to make it political, a partisan issue. It's obvious, as we see on the Oversight Committee, the fighting between Republicans and Democrats. You would think all public servants of the Republic would want to represent their constituents and bring about transparency and justice for the victims of the Epstein crimes. Not the case. They've made it a partisan issue with, in large part, the Republicans on the House Oversight Committee blocking and obfuscating much of the testimony and creating a whole dog and pony show out of it there. And then the Democrats on the other side going extreme and ranting and raving about it and all the different fighting, partisan political fighting. And at the end of the day, the victims and the American people get no justice. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe the states can do something. I don't see how they can, but, and again, another law. They're proposing more legislation. We already have the law. They refuse to follow the Epstein Files Transparency Act. I don't see what another law is going to do, honestly, at this point. Should old Andrew Windsor have a royal funeral? So UK activists, victims, people are upset, saying he's already been publicly shamed, kicked out of the royal family, kicked out of his royal digs all over the place, right? Got his title stripped. And now all these people pointing the finger at old former Prince Andrew are now saying that he should have all of his stolen property denied, right? His, quote, royal benefits denied. And one of those was going to be a royal funeral. And so now there's mass calls to deny him his stolen property to put on a royal funeral. He deserves that and more, actually. But at least in the UK, he's getting some type of public shame. Here in America, hell, MAGA's cheering on Trump to run for his third term. So that's all the Epstein reporting we have for today. Again, I don't understand how more laws, which we already have laws on the books, the Department of Justice doesn't follow. So why passing another law is going to make a difference? I don't see. Maybe on the state level, it could. I just don't see it. But we'll keep reporting on the Epstein saga as it continues. Here's some happy news for illegal aliens now, and just, I guess, everybody, because I'm sure it'll be turned on you and I, Joe Blow, American citizen. Before we know it, U.S. ICE agents are now using electric shock gloves. Quote, humane devices that deliver jolt of pain will be used by ICE agents. So that's very humanitarian of them. We have that to look forward to. Now on to economic reporting. Bill Gates, how's he not under arrest, right? I guess he's halfway publicly shamed here, but his investigation, or his foundation, the Gates Foundation, did an internal investigation into his relations. He met 30 plus times with Epstein, found no wrongdoings whatsoever. They were just meeting up for him to get some donations from Epstein, we're told. No wrongdoings there, according to internal investigation. They investigated themselves and found nothing wrong. Gates Foundation's $540 million gift to science comes as the federal government pulls back on funding, report out of Fortune magazine. So the philanthropy will continue, which is depopulation, eugenics, transhumanism. But so that will continue, and we do appreciate those efforts out of Bill Gates. Isn't it like a whole circle jerk? Because actually the government backed them. So it's like they're keeping it all in that circle to still carry out the same policies, but a little bit low key under the radar via philanthropy. As the federal government has continued to slash funding for science research, clean energy, social services, public safety, and education, billionaire philanthropists have stepped in to fill the void. What will we do without them? So yeah, the Gates Foundation is stepping in to help fund scientific research through an historic $540 million grant to the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, an independent research organization at the University of Washington. The 10-year grant will go toward engineering more fake bat times. No, excuse me, I got way off there. The 10-year grant will go toward improving access to freely available scientific health evidence used by governments, researchers, and leaders to improve health nationally and globally. See, it just comes out of the goodness of their philanthropic heart, not their burning desire to bring us down to a population of 500 million, i.e. the Georgia Guidestones. Continuing here, the U.S. government is ramping up hiring. What? I thought we were small government, little r Republicans under MAGA. They told us Doge was cutting all the government waste, fraud, and abuse. No, that was a giant con job scheme, scam, fraud for Elon Musk to go steal all of our data and put in AI into the government. Turns out the government is increasing in size once again. The U.S. government is ramping up hiring. Government jobs openings jumped 10,000 plus in June to 823,000, the highest since June 2025. This marks the fourth consecutive monthly increase, totaling 98,000 plus job openings offered by the U.S. federal government. Since November 2025, available vacancies in the government have surged to 165,000 plus. Meanwhile, federal government job openings rose 93,000 plus in June to 139,000, the highest since October 2024. This marks the largest monthly increase since May 2024. Government hiring is soaring. That's very small government conservative of the Trump administration. You can see right here in the little graph, that right there is actually a whole lot, right, going up right there. Institutional investors are dumping U.S. tech equities. I don't know why, because it's all a giant fraud. That could be part of the reason. Hedge funds, asset managers, and other institutional investors sold 21.6 million of NASDAQ futures during the week ending August 4th, the largest weekly sale on record, according to Goldman Sachs. Short sales dominated the move, accounting for 72% of total sales. Hedge funds sold $11.9 billion worth over the period, while asset managers sold $7.4 billion. As a result, combined institutional investor positioning in NASDAQ futures fell by $5 billion, turning negative for the first time since May 2025. By comparison, this figure was as high as plus $54 billion in October 2025. Institutional investors are selling into market strength, and they're seeing maybe it's time to jump out here. Well, thankfully, while you and I struggle to put groceries on the table, the Trumps are profiteering handsomely off of the racketeering operation known as the U.S. presidency. Barron Trump's estimated net worth is approximately $150 million, making him wealthier than his mother, Melania Trump, even after much manipulation and rigging efforts on her behalf. I added that part. Trump's White House construction costs to surge past $900 million. Well, at least they'll have a bunker safe house when we get bombed. We'll be hung out to dry, but the criminals that caused the giant war that's coming, they'll be safe. The Trump administration is quietly funneling at least $927 million into White House construction projects, bypassing Congress because they don't give a damn about the law, about checks and balances, even about our own governmental structure, because they're a pack of criminals. Kushner's, they bought the LA Lakers. Jared Kushner's brother, along with former Disney CEO Bob Iger, purchased the Los Angeles Lakers NBA basketball team for $12.5 billion, the record price for any sports team in U.S. history. So know that big Zionists own the Los Angeles Lakers. Great news, right? Trump tariffs are costing Americans up to $2,500 a year. Meanwhile, the corporations that pass the cost of tariffs onto consumers by raising prices are getting massive refunds. Apple got a $2.2 billion refund despite boasting a 50% profit margin after it jacked up iPad and MacBook prices. Trump's illegal tariff scheme is enabling corporations to double dip on profits, funneling $100 billion straight into their pockets from the rest of us. Well, they're good. Don't be a call me. You know what I mean? Loan sharks found a loophole that lets them charge small businesses nearly 3,000% interest and is driving small businesses into bankruptcy. A dozen small businesses owners that this report interviewed said some report taking out $30,000 loans and having to pay back $160,000. This quiet scam is killing the middle class. Yeah, usury is a sin. Somebody tell the Federal Reserve about this, and Congress for that matter. The Treasury Department has officially repealed a requirement for American companies and individuals to report beneficial ownership information to its Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, or FinCEN. I remember when they were trying to do this for small businesses, but they're getting rid of checks and balances for a reason: to steal more. From UNI, Manhattan rents reach all-time high of $6,655, according to the New York Calm Post. That's a hell of a lot for rent there in Manhattan. Cost of insuring against default by AI hyperscalers has hit record levels, according to the Financial Times. Let's take a look at this. Very high risk. Cost of insuring against default by AI hyperscalers hits record levels. Well, yeah, because they're all essentially insolvent. 5-year credit default swap spread. Right there, another exotic financial derivative. And they'll trade all this around. Musical chairs until it all comes down there now. Very high risk. Meta and broadband, as you could see, leading the high risk insurance right there. 1 in 3 workers have more credit card debt than retirement savings, according to Schroders. Iran will soon join the BRICS-backed New Development Bank. Iranian Central Bank Governor Hamedi said ahead of a BRICS financial meeting in India. And what's BRICS? Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, right? Yeah. Iran joined BRICS in 2024 and has since sought membership and a shareholding in the NDB, which finances infrastructure and sustainable development projects. Tehran is also seeking expanded bilateral and trilateral monetary cooperation with BRICS countries, including trade conducted in national currencies. They're trying to get around, that's the whole point of it, get around the weaponization of the world's reserve currency, the US dollar. But the BRICS are not going to be some savior for the global South, as it's still all the same damn central bank cartel at the end of the day. But they're trying, this is part of phasing out dollars, one world currency, soft power transfer to the global South, to the East, as we continue to report in a new era, in a new world order. Any more reporting about that? Yeah, they're just looking to do something here now with all these sanctions, the dollar weaponized against them, looking to branch out into more trade with other BRICS countries using their national currencies to bypass the weaponization of the US dollar. Trump sued on First and Fifth Amendment grounds over paid Truth Social access. Trump's expensive subscription for instant access to his Truth Social post is unconstitutional, according to a federal lawsuit filed earlier today. The Intercept and the Freedom of the Press Foundation jointly sued Trump and his White House social media team for restricting their access to the president's post on Truth Social. The plaintiffs claim Trump violated their First and Fifth Amendment rights. Trump frequently uses his company's platform to announce policy decisions, executive orders, personnel changes, and war declarations. We've covered it. Right? Yesterday, we've been covering it for a few weeks here now. Trump is giving high-frequency trading firms first access for the fee of $60,000 to $100,000 a month, and they're going to take that first access to information like policy decisions, executive orders, personnel changes, and war declarations. They're going to take that information, know which way it's going to push the market in whatever stock, commodity, futures trading, bets for and against, all these different metrics out there to make money in the casino called the market, right? And they're going to use this information split second ahead of everybody else, front run it, and profiteer handsomely. It all does seem extremely illegal for the president to offer this service for that fee, which is actually really cheap. When you think about it, if you have that much capital to invest, it's probably actually worth it, but it seems pretty damn shady and unethical and wrong. But who cares? Because the government is a crime syndicate, organized crime syndicate. So who cares about your First and Fifth Amendment rights? They're the Intercept and Freedom of Press Foundation. We'll have to follow and see how this lawsuit turns out. They're just looking to get a payday. It seems just pay the $60,000 to $100,000 and play the casino like everybody else, right? No, not everybody else has access because not everybody else has that much capital, and not everybody else is a high frequency freaking trader. Gas prices have never been this high in mid-August, Yahoo Finance reports. Gasoline prices climbed today, marking their highest level on record for this time of year. The national average for regular gas stood at $4.03 per gallon, according to AAA data. That's about 16 cents higher than a month ago. The national average is now at its highest ever level this late in the calendar year. It's the golden age. You'll walk everywhere. You will be poor. The government will lie to your face, and idiot cult of personality MAGA followers will be in outer space. Isn't it all so wonderful? Now we go to AAA, and I'll round up to $4.04. You can see right there on average for the price of a gallon of gasoline across America. Brown University, now the Watson School of International and Public Affairs, Iran War Energy Cost Tracker, the total consumer cost burden since the beginning of the Iran War, which started February 28th, 2026. We're now on day 165 of the Iran War. The total consumer burden since the start of the war is now up to $83.4 billion. And the consumer, the per household cost burden is now $636.38 spread across both gasoline and diesel, as you can see right here. We're taking a beating, as are the Gulf states. Oman and Saudi Arabia launched a secure green land corridor linking Sohar Port to Spark Dry Port via the empty quarter highway, 564-kilometer Saudi segment, $533 million to build. It aims to cut costs, speed up cargo transit, and bypass maritime checkpoints. Here's this new shipping route. You can see right here. To get from Saudi Arabia to Oman and bypass having to go through the Strait of Hormuz. Right there, you can see by land. Drone strike targets power station in Libya's Zawiya amid series of mysterious attacks. We don't even know. I think we do know. It's most likely Merca Aardvark land. And again, this is all to create global energy crisis, i.e. global famine, i.e. global depopulation. A drone that targeted a powerful station in Libya's western city of Zawiya earlier today ignited a fire at the facility. No official statement has been released regarding possible casualties or the extent of the damage. That was earlier today, reported on it, and they're calling it a mysterious drone strike. An unclaimed suicide drone hit and destroyed the southern Zawiya 3011 kV substation in western Libya, causing a major fire and widespread outages south of Zawiya. The strike is part of a recent series of unexplained drone attacks on Zawiya's power and oil infrastructure in Libya. This is a new attack reported today. We reported on the one yesterday. It's a big mystery. Nobody knows. They're blowing up the energy infrastructure, all by design, as we continue to report here at Weaponized News for you. So, yeah, that Libyan oil refinery continues to be attacked mysteriously. We don't know. We don't know who's doing these attacks, allegedly. Only 8 vessels tracked in the Strait of Hormuz as ship owners avoided the waterway. I don't know why. Again, on one side, America's standing with a gun. The other side, Iran's standing with a gun. I don't know why. Nobody wants to drive through that neighborhood. The number of vessels tracked passing through the Strait of Hormuz dropped to 1 week low of 8 yesterday, according to shipping data. Kepler data showed Tuesday's total of 8 vessels was below the 10-day average of around 12, marking the lowest daily traffic count since August 5th. Trump told us everything's wonderful. It's open. We have the wall of steel. Nothing can stop us. Free sailing. It turns out he's a lying criminal. Yeah, we knew that, right? Meanwhile, on the other side, 30 vessels crossed the Bab al-Mandab Strait at the southern entrance to the Red Sea yesterday, above the 10-day average of 25, according to Kepler there. The IEA projected today that global oil supply will fall 4.3 million barrels per day, roughly 4% this year, citing disruptions at Strait of Hormuz and Bab al-Mandab Straits. worsening its July forecast of a $3.7 million barrels per day decline. It has also revised global demand to be higher than expected. Not good. All part of the engineered energy crisis. The Pentagon has admitted, after months of denials, that the United States airstrikes killed 153 civilians in Yemen last year. A total independent monitors say it's far too low. The U.S. military strikes against Ansar Allah, commonly known as the Houthis, in Yemen, killed 153 civilians and wounded 243 in 2025. The Pentagon told Congress in a report obtained by U.S. media its first acknowledgement of the civilian death toll of the bombing campaign President Trump ordered on March 2025. All the deaths came from 3 April 2025 strikes. Per the report, 5 killed near Sa'ana on April 6th, 80 killed at the Rasa Issa fuel port on April 17th, and 68 killed in Sada on April 28th. Human Rights Watch had said that the Ras Issa strikes should be investigated as a war crime. The figure is a fraction of independent counts. The Yemen Data Project recorded at least 238 civilians killed and 467 wounded in the campaign codenamed Operation Rough Rider. The Monitor Air Wars put the toll at 258. The Intercept reported that even a U.S. official called the Pentagon's number lowball. The Department of War had initially denied killing any civilians at all, and 15 further incidences remain under review. Everything's wonderful. We won the war, never killed anybody, and everybody has freaking roses on their grave. You know, it's just we're gonna find out a lot more dead U.S. troops in this Iran war, and a lot more injured, and that's the human toll. And then we're going to find out a lot more U.S. assets, billions upon billions of dollars worth of U.S. military assets in the region have been destroyed, along with a bunch more dead troops and injured troops. Tragically enough, that's going to come out, I don't know, 5 years from now. Who knows when? Maybe never, but I do believe that is the case. Shocking the Pentagon would lie like that. I don't know. Yemen death toll. I know they would never lie to us about such things, but they do have a long history of lying to us about such things. Ansarallah Houthis launched another round of ballistic missiles at the strategic port city of Al-Makah near Bab al-Mandab Strait earlier today. The Saudis-backed Yemeni government said Ansarallah had fired 10 ballistic missiles and 4 drones at the city one day earlier, as the war between the Houthis and Saudi Arabia continues. Death toll from the attack by Ansarallah on commercial vessel in the Bab al-Mandab Strait yesterday has risen to 6 dead, including 3 Pakistani nationals. Pakistan's foreign minister condemned the attack on what he viewed was a non-combatant commercial vessel. And then they claim it was hauling Saudi military assets. And so the Houthis claimed it was a legitimate target that way. Yemen's foreign ministry urges Riyadh to end aggression and blockade. Sana's Ministry of Foreign Affairs has called on Saudi government to make a quote, courageous decision to immediately halt its aggression, lift the ongoing blockade, and end all illegal activities across Yemen, emphasizing that choosing peace carries no heavy cost and would yield positive outcomes for both nations. The ministry warned Saudi Arabia that misreading regional shifts to severe hostile agendas has only caused self-inflicted harm, stressing that divine laws of change favor oppressed peoples over aggressors, and that continued Saudi miscalculations will lead to even greater losses, highlighting the ongoing suffering of the Yemeni population due to the blockade and the plunder of the country's natural resources. Sa'ana reiterated its call for Riyadh to urgently fulfill its agreed upon obligations, principally addressing the humanitarian file, which it described as an inherent non-negotiable right that cannot be delayed or postponed. The United States is on track to withdraw all forces from Iraq by September 30th, ending the military presence there, ending the U.S. military presence there since the 2003 invasion. The move comes as Iraqi security forces take full responsibility for countering ISIS, while Iraq's government also faces pressure to disarm Iran-backed militias, according to a report out of ABC News. They blew the hell out of our bases all over the place there. We're trying to have some save face as well as get out of there. Remember, Biden left, what, 80 billion plus military assets there in Afghanistan. We're trying to do some type of honorable withdrawal here. I don't know how you have any honor after killing all those Iraqis and occupying their country since the 2003 invasion. We're trying to do something to save face over there. Good luck in that regard. And also due to the fact they're bombing the hell out of all of our bases there in Iraq in this recent Iran war. Will this play? No. Very weird. Something up with, so we won't get to play it, but former U.S. counterterrorism chief Joe Kent, who resigned in protest of the Iran war at the beginning of it, said U.S. armed Al-Qaeda, we know that, created ISIS, we know that, unleashed a global terror network just to overthrow Assad and protect Aardvark land. Aardvark land was the driving factor in that policy. So much chaos caused by one tiny European settler colony. Any criticism is hateful toward evil. Don't be an antiseptic plumber. This was crazy. This guy resigned on live TV over there. Sudan's RSF appointed Kordofan governor Hamad Mohammed Hamid defected live on Al Arabia TV today. He quit his role as governor and presidential council member under the RSF linked group. And we would play it, but I guess we can. Again, the audio issues. We'll show you this dude right here resigned live on their defected. As the RSF is carrying out, by many reports, a genocide there in the Sudan, in large part funded and backed by the UAE. He said that he accused the RSF of fueling tribal and racial tensions, destroying cities and killing civilians, describing conditions under RSF control as heartbreaking. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, went to a big conference there today, part of Operation Southern Sphere. they put on, what was it called? It's called the heck's it called? I know I have the name. America's Counter Cartel Coalition. And so we don't, again, the audio's jacked, but here he is. I'll read you the readout here. There's Hegseth. So he said it's now nearly 1 year since the launch of Operation Southern Sphere, the first time in history that the Department of War launched a sustained military campaign against U.S. designated terrorist organizations in our shared hemisphere, and it has been a resounding success. We saw reports of two weeks ago. The DEA said there's more cocaine coming into this country than ever before, but never mind the extrajudicial assassination of alleged narco drug traffickers, which equals murder. Never mind all that. It's a resounding success. We have seen record drops in the movement of narco vessels across major maritime corridors inside our hemisphere, including at a minimum a 65% reduction in the Western Caribbean, a 60% reduction in the Eastern Caribbean. This is a bad time to get a drug boat in the Western Hemisphere. DEA said they just created alternative routes, and more cocaine is entering this country than has ever entered it before. But we get to kill some fishermen and post the videos and say, look, we're fighting the war on drugs. We care about public safety. We're murdering people all for your own good. You see, alleged narco drug trafficking terrorists. He went on to say, as Hegseth went on to say, I want to commend Ecuador for its regional leadership in becoming the first ACCC member to partner with the United States in combined kinetic operations against narco terrorists. There's a secret drug war. It's not even a secret, very underpublicized, going on in Mexico, Central and South America, all part of building out the Greater North America Project, i.e. the technate, i.e. scientific dictatorship. That's what this is really all about. Don't be mistaken. This government doesn't give a damn if you're on drugs. If you overdose on drugs, they would actually appreciate that more. It's to consolidate control of global contraband trade while building the Greater North America Project, our region of one world government for control here now. It's really what all of this is about, masquerading as we're getting rid of the bad drug dealers, narco terrorists. And they are in some cases doing that, but not because they're caring about if you overdose on drugs, you and your family members. It has nothing to do with that. They would prefer if you did. They're consolidating control in the contraband trafficking game here now. Trade, I guess you could call it. Hegseth went on to say, we are killing terrorists. According to them, no due process, extrajudicial assassinations, murder. You arrest them with the drugs, you take them to court, you have a trial. It's called due process rule law. It's called Merca. Now we just whack them because somebody said, according to our intelligence, which we listen to ho-humly, not about starting major wars, but about whacking fishermen. We go ahead and whack them, post the video on the internet and say, look at us. We love fighting the drug war. We're keeping you safe. It's straight up murder. He went on to say, we are killing terrorists and we are defeating the failed and toxic ideologies of radical socialism and communism. The international left, along with their enabling left-wing media, is plotting to unlawfully assert ICC jurisdiction over the United States and partner military personnel and operations. He's talking about aardvark land. That's really what the majority of our crimes are for aardvark land. I know. Don't be an antiseptic, call a plumber. It's striking that this so-called court and other globalist bodies undermine our efforts, but do nothing to hold real terrorists and real tyrants accountable. New motto of the America's Counter Cartel Coalition: we do bad things to bad people, Pete Hegseth said at their big America's Counter Cartel Coalition meeting there in Panama. Colombia is officially joining the America's Counter Cartel Coalition, A3C. Hegseth announced earlier today. He said, I met with Minister of Defense Mora in Panama City today, and we launched a new chapter in U.S.-Colombian defense cooperation. They're literally a Zionist puppet state now, and so we do appreciate their efforts there. You can see the America's Counter Cartel Coalition. Exciting stuff. Exciting stuff for everyone to be a Zionist puppet state. And they did put out some videos. Panama Max 2026, a bunch of military exercise continually ongoing in Mexico, Central and South America. In Panama Max 2026, Panama strengthens its capacity to respond to threats that may put our security at risk. Here's a video from those exercises. Panama Max 26.
Un campamento insurgente amenaza la estabilidad y la seguridad nacional.
La respuesta es contundente: avanzar, tomar el objetivo y recuperar el control del área.
Porque proteger el canal de Panamá exige neutralizar cualquier amenaza.
Again, apologies for the audio. I don't even know if I think they were speaking Spanish there. But yeah, you could see the training going on there. Panama Max 2026, the Panamanian Caribbean Panama, and the participating countries that make up the maritime component of Panama Max 2026 are developing simulation exercises aimed at strengthening the coordination, preparedness, and response capacity of the participating units, all showing how fun it is to become a Zionist puppet state. It's quite wonderful. Within the framework of Panama Max 2026, the hashtag Cyber 2026 exercise is taking place where Panama and allied countries strengthen their cyber defense capabilities through specialized teams in the detection and analysis and response to incidences using monitoring and intelligence tools. Are these guys launching the recent cyber attacks we've had here in America? I don't know. The U.S.-Panama Security Partnership is guided by shared values. This was posted by U.S. Southern Command, and an unwavering commitment to counter regional threats. Training during the Panama-hosted multinational hashtag Panamax exercise, such as this drill. It happened August 6th. They just posted it today. Drill featuring U.S. Marines and the Panamanian Servicio Nacional Alvaro Naval at base Alvaro Naval Costobal Colon strengthens the bilateral partnership and enhances regional security and readiness. Here's a still image from those training exercises out of Panama right there. And more about it, Maritime Security Response Team Western boat transits toward its regional location following a simulated non-compliant boarding exercise. They're practicing pirating, essentially, but they're the good guys, so you don't worry about it. You know what I mean? They're the good guys, bro. So here they are, getting ready to go pirate somebody or practicing a pirate maneuver. It's all for our own good, public safety. Don't ask questions. You may be shot in the face. Ecuadorian fishermen, they may be asking too many questions. Ecuadorian fishermen say mysterious English-speaking men wearing U.S. flag patches attacked their boats with explosive drones, leaving some dead or missing. New York Times flight data analysis found a privately registered maritime patrol plane based at a Salvadorian military facility repeatedly tracked the boats before the attacks. The U.S. and El Salvador deny any involvement. Shocking. They would deny covert actions against Ecuadorian fishermen. But the plane's links to military facilities and the attacker's apparent organization has raised questions about whether the U.S.-linked military contractor was behind the strikes. You think? It was Iran. Iran was trying to rig up a false flag to blame America, killing Ecuadorian fishermen wearing speaking English, looking white, and wearing U.S. flag patches. That's what it was, I'm sure. Follow me for more QAnon quack conspiracies. You know what I mean? It's just trust the government, bro. They spoke English, wore U.S. flags, and attacked fishermen. Who are they? Well, they're obviously U.S. government contractors, i.e. mercenaries. Russia starts importing Indian gasoline amid Ukrainian refinery strikes. Sustained Ukrainian attacks on Russian refineries have triggered a severe domestic fuel crisis, forcing Moscow to secure unprecedented gasoline imports from India. Yeah, they're creating a giant energy crisis, as we continue to report, blowing up energy infrastructure, petroleum infrastructure all over the place. Russia, Iran, Libya, all the Gulf states. It's getting pretty bad. Ukraine drone units decisively beat a U.S. armored brigade in a major exercise in Germany, exposing gaps in America's adaptation to modern drone warfare. Ukrainian operators quickly detected U.S. vehicles, then simulated destroying them with explosive and FPV drones so effectively that United States units had to repeatedly respawn, according to a report out of the Wall Street Journal. Here, you can see that. We can't even defeat Ukraine in drone drills. Maybe give them some more money at the Pentagon. My God, this is embarrassing. Ukrainian drone training commander says Grand Theft Auto players who completed the infamous helicopter mission became some of their best FPV drone operators. Game controller skills apparently transfer surprisingly well to real world drone piloting. And isn't that why they gave it the first person shooter games, was to find first person shooters and all these other aviation games and so on and so forth, training purposes, and to go ahead and bring you in to military service. Multiple sailors to this report, and shout out to Carrie. She was tagging me on a few of these, and I did briefly report on it yesterday. But yeah, it's not looking good. Multiple sailors aboard the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier have tried to jump from the ship during the carrier's extended deployment. The ship's roughly 5,000 sailors and Marines have been deployed since November 21st, more than 8 months, supporting operations against Iran. One wife said her husband tried to jump overboard after being repeatedly overextended. He's going to commit suicide. What are you going to do? I don't know what. I guess suicide. You're not going to swim nowhere there. In a separate incident, a sailor on watch caught a shipmate preparing to go overboard and pulled them back onto the deck. Stars and Stripes reported a third incident in which watchstanders stopped a crew member from jumping. America, USA, 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 our wall of steel. We run the Strait of Hormuz, bro. Now it turns out very low morale there on the USS Abraham Lincoln, tragically enough. More reports, Military Times. There you go. Multiple USS Abraham Lincoln sailors have tried to go overboard amid extended deployment, family says. Yeah, Trump cares about the troops in his illegal foreign war of aggression against Iran. It's all to keep us from getting nuked, which the intelligence and the State Department said was not an imminent threat. So there you go. I'm sure the troops appreciate the traitor Trump working for Aardvark land. Zionist puppet governments are popping up all over South America and Central America, for that matter. Aardvark land minister, foreign minister, has designated 2026 a year of Latin America. Watch out. Watch out. A push to rebuild Aardvark land's influence in a region that turned sharply against it over the genocide in Gaza. It notched 2 gains this week. Colombia became only the second country after the United States to recognize Aardvark land sovereignty in occupied Golan Heights. We covered that yesterday in Syria. And then Venezuela separately agreed to a mechanism for consular services and technical cooperation with Aardvark land. We did a rigged up election in Colombia, put in our Zionist puppet there. We stole Maduro, Venezuela's president, at the point of a gun, put in a Zionist puppet there. Go Aardvark land genocide. It's friggin' awesome. According to the Global South, Colombia and Venezuela now Zionist puppet states. See how it's also wonderful in the year of Latin America 2026. Netanyahu is using some interesting language on Instagram, and he posted a whole string of these. It's just so ridiculously stupid. It's kind of chic to be big Yahoo. And there's a string of these. I'll just save you with I'll spare you the cringe. Memes of the day. What are they doing over there? These crazy guys at the U.S. Department of War. I put in the memes of the day here. Let's see. Did they post anything new? They usually post in the morning. Yeah, well, here's one. Meme of the day out of the Department of War. It is the thumbnail for today's show. A lethal American. And you can see they put right there 45, 47, 45, 47. That little hidden symbolism in there with MAGAs running this Department of War X account. Locked in, and they're literally skydiving here. Never give up, Patriot. Maintain the resolve to win. Stay locked in. Right there, meme of the day out of the Department of War. Stay locked in. The Trump administration trigger warning. trigger warning. We may have to call, the ADL about this. The Trump administration criticized Aardvarkland's plans to maintain its occupation of southern Lebanon, saying they violate commitments made under the U.S.-Lebanon Aardvarkland Agreement. Shocking, I know, because we know that Aardvarks are men of their word, right? They lie about everything, never trust a sneaky aardvark. I don't think I even have to say it to our audience. I think they already know. But for any new listeners out there, they violated every ceasefire agreement for the last, 5-6 years, forever, basically. But we're just talking about the most recent violations of ceasefire agreements by Aardvarkland. Continuing here, a State Department official said a permanent military presence in southern Lebanon is not consistent with the commitments made in the framework. Yeah, they're liars. Katz, however, that's the Department of War head out of Aardvarkland. Katz, however, said that Aardvarkland would not withdraw from the security zone. It's great to have our greatest partner, our greatest ally, go ahead and say F you, America, basically, in all your diplomatic efforts to try to bring about peace, to basically say F you and your dog and pony show. We're going to keep all that land we stole from Lebanon. We're going to keep up ethnic cleansing, and we're going to keep on genociding them. F you, America, and all your diplomacy, and F you, State Department. Aardvark proud, baby. It's where we're at. I mean, come on. Yeah, Aardvarkland War Minister Katz said, we will not withdraw from Lebanon, not from Syria, and certainly not from Gaza. There's a ceasefire, did you hear? But there's bodies stacking up right there. Wowzers, man. Britain, Italy, Switzerland, and Indonesia are being considered for a foreign mission to verify Hezbollah's disarmament in southern Lebanon. The plan could involve inspecting villages and private homes, but the mission's mandate and freedom of movement remain unresolved, according to a report out of Reuters. So Aardvarks are going to go get UK and Italy to go do some, and maybe even Sweden or Switzerland, excuse me, to go do some dirty work over there for them, door knocking, door kicking, and the like there in the attempt to disarm Hezbollah. We'll track this and see how it develops. Latest Aardvarkland attacks and developments in southern Lebanon reported by the Cradle. Artillery and white phosphorus shelling targets the heights of Ali al-Tahrir earlier today, and they even have the timeline for you. An explosion occurred in the town of Zawatar al-Shakwara. A drone strike targeted Ashra morning hall at dawn on the Kafra al-Asai road, hitting it directly and causing a fire to break out inside. Aardvarkland occupation forces burned residential homes in the town of Hadatha. Aardvarkland occupation forces blew up the Sheikh Ma'in Madai official school in the center of the town of Zawatar al-Shawqi. Excuse me for butchering those pronunciations. Yeah, they're leveling the joint. The ethnic cleansing program is continuing. Footage shows the direct aftermath of yesterday's Aardvarkland attack on a car outside of Nabath in southern Lebanon. They whacked this car there. Of course, that car deserved it. Right there. We reported on that, quote, double tap yesterday. Double tap strike. Lebanese military sources said they told Al Arabia TV that Aardvark land occupation forces have bombed a municipal building, a clinic, a kindergarten, and residential homes in Zawatar al-Sarqaya, southern Lebanon. Scorched earth policy. They're literally destroying anything and everything that could bring the Lebanese people back to that land. The Greater Aardvark Land Project is stealing it all. They're stealing Lebanon, Gaza, Syria, probably part of Egypt, probably part of Jordan. Moments ago, this was earlier today, a massive Aardvark land explosion on Mansouri in southern Lebanon. Here's some still images of that. It's ongoing every day, right? Quite a large explosion you can see relative to the buildings there. Ongoing demolition campaign. And it just goes on and on and on. A Lebanese citizen and resident of southern Lebanon informs the Cradle that Aardvark land occupation forces deliberately targeted and destroyed his home and the homes of two of his relatives in recent attacks. There's photos of those attacks documenting the destruction of his home there and his relatives' homes. These are civilians. They're not even claiming they're terrorists or Hezbollah or anything. These are civilian Lebanese they're doing this to. Now, understand that. Aardvark land occupation forces target Kfar Tabnit in southern Lebanon with artillery shelling for a second time today. Here's that image. And it goes on and on. Artillery shelling, southern Lebanon. I believe this was the first one reported of those attacks in Kfar Tabnit, southern Lebanon. And Aardvark land drone drops explosive materials on the forest near Biet Yahoun in southern Lebanon. Trying to start a fire. You can see right here. After multiple attempts, the reports say they made multiple attempts here to try to start a forest fire up here. That would be Aardvark land drones dropping explosive material. They do love the arson. They do love the arson. Multiple Palestinians sustained injuries moments earlier today following an Aardvark land drone targeting an area near Rafah in the southern Gaza Strip. And there's a dead kid. I won't show you the image here. If you want to see it, you can go to the Cradle, go to Weaponized News Substack. I'll link to it there. According to Gaza's Ministry of Health, one Palestinian was announced dead after he was recovered from underneath the rubble, while two others were wounded by Aardvark land attacks across the Gaza Strip over the past 24 hours. The Gaza Ministry of Health added that many victims remain trapped beneath the rubble and on roads as ambulances and civil defense teams remain unable to reach them. Yeah. Since the so-called ceasefire, October 11, 2025, the Gaza Ministry of Health says 1,259 Palestinians have been killed, 4,148 wounded, and 808 bodies recovered from the rubble there as the genocide continues. The LA Times is running paid content promoting the occupied Golan Heights as part of Aardvark land, despite its status as Syrian territory under international law. The Los Angeles Times published a sponsored travel guide titled 9 Days in Aardvark Land and lists the Golan Heights as a destination within Aardvark land with no acknowledgement that the territory is occupied Syrian land whose annexation violates international law. Well, ICC is just a bunch of criminals anyway, according to little Marco Rubio. You know what I mean? So there you go. There you go. Thank you very much for that paid endorsement from the Los Angeles Times. Here it is. 9 days in Aardvark land. I don't know what else you could want out of life. Go experience pure evil firsthand. 9 days in Aardvark land. All right, continuing here. We're almost done, guys. Thank you for hanging with me. Final reporting here now on the occupied West Bank, occupied Jerusalem, Aardvark land occupation, municipality crews demolished the home of Jerusalem residents. And you can see right here with their heavy equipment demolishing homes there as per leveling the entire joint. You wait over here, we're going to demolish your home. And we'll probably kill you anyway. More from Aardvark land occupation forces bulldozed dozens of Palestinian-owned commercial properties in the village of Abba, east of Jenin, in the occupied West Bank. Earlier today, the demolition served to clear Palestinian land for the reestablishment of the illegal Ghanim settlement. Here's images of that. Leveling the joint. As per usual in the occupied West Bank. Aardvark land kills at least one Palestinian child in the occupied West Bank every week. The situation facing children across the occupied West Bank, including East Jerusalem, continues to deteriorate amid sharply escalating Aardvark land ultra-Zionist settler violence and militarized occupations, according to UNICEF briefing delivered to the UN Security Council. The briefing detailed profound systemic impacts, noting that over 800,000 children face barriers to education due to infrastructure damage, movement restrictions, and over 900 new checkpoints or barriers imposed across the territory in recent years. UNICEF warned that at least 355 Palestinian children from the occupied West Bank are currently held in Aardvark land military detention, the highest number in 8 years, with nearly half detained without charge or trial under administrative detention amid reports of severe abuse and degrading conditions. UNICEF outlined 4 urgent demands for the Council: protecting children under international law, ending forced displacement, safeguarding access to essential services and education, and ensuring unimpeded humanitarian operations. And Aardvark land and America laughed in their face and said, "We may whack you next." UNICEF. I added that part, but it's par for the course. Ultra-Zionist settler hordes besiege Palestinian family near occupied West Bank's Nablus. Aardvark land detained Palestinian journalist and drop site contributor Ahmed Awad. This guy's now, they got this guy earlier today, according to drop site. Soldiers first raided an apartment in a different neighborhood than Awad's family had moved out months earlier, breaking down the door only to find it empty. Awad's wife told Al Arabi News. They then went on foot to the family's current home and pounded on the door until Awad opened it. He was blindfolded, handcuffed behind his back, and forced to walk down 5 flights of stairs before being taken away in a military jeep. In a scene captured on video, Awad's reporting for Dropside discovered escalating violence by Aardvark land ultra-Zionist settlers across the West Bank, including the burning of a mosque and the attack on Mosque Safer Yada late last week that wounded 5 Palestinians and burned 4 homes. Yeah, Over 250 journalists there in Palestine have been killed now since October 7th, 2023. And they've got this guy in custody. Who knows what they're going to do to him? Quite horrific. Systemic campaigns continue. They're in the occupied West Bank by the ultra-Zionist sellers backed up by the IDF to go ahead and they're taking it all. They're taking it all to ethnic cleanse and genocide the Palestinians, everybody, Christians, Muslims, they don't care. You're not aardvark, ultra-Zionist, they're whacking you. They'll probably even start whacking each other. They're so damn crazy, right? They're crazy, homicidal, genocidal, bloodthirsty maniacs. Who else acts that way? Nobody but those possessed by evil. All right, friends, that's all the reporting we got for today. Thanks, everybody, for hanging with us on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. Give us a like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. Latest headlines out of Iran International. Strait of Hormuz remains blocked until conditions are met, Iran says. Trump said it's wide open. It's just a big party over there. Strait of Hormuz more valuable than a nuclear bomb, Iran lawmakers are now saying. Well, we're going to bomb the Strait of Hormuz into submission, Trump, because they may have a Strait of Hormuz that's going to attack us in 2 weeks. U.S. forces redirected 59 commercial vessels in Iranian blockade, according to U.S. Central Command. Fuel prices hike, risks repeating past unrest. Iranian lawmaker warns Iranian women will lead fight for freedom, humanitarian rights activist says. Iran lawmaker questions luxury car imports amid currency constraints. And then finally, Al Jazeera headlines, and we'll get on out of here. And let's see, U.S.-Iran exchange opposing claims over Strait of Hormuz. Ridiculous. U.S. intelligence skeptical that Iran threatened to assassinate Trump. U.S. media says. I don't know. There was a bunch. They were threatening him right in their Tehran town square, right? Big old banners. We reported on it. I don't know. It looked pretty real to me. I gotta circle back on this report. Oil prices dropped more than $1 a barrel, but yet we get price gouged into poverty here in America. Go free market capitalism, which is actually just all rigged markets and oligarchic control. More than half of Gaza's population lacks access to water, the UN says. UK condemns escalating settler violence across the occupied West Bank. All right, friends, let's head over to, and again, apologies for the audio on the clips today. I don't know what the heck's happening. We have some major glitch going on. But we made it through there. Thank you for bearing with all of my reporting. Let's go over to Odysee and see if we have anyone on those channels in the chat over there. We do. Shout out to the Odysee listeners. In the chat over there. Shout out to Pink Vegas, John, Fat Bob, the regulars. Thank you guys for tuning in, the regular listeners there. As Fat Bob says, life makes me sleepy. And for only 63 cents a day, you can support a poor satellite out there stranded like an old jaywalker woman in Ukraine. And locally, Fox News just can't stop pushing flock cameras, but there's some pushback. But always ends on a high note for investors. X, no way. They've always been straight with me. Didn't they ban you, Fat Bob? I think they did. I don't think they've been straight with Fat Bob or any of us for that matter. Man. Zohar, wow. What America has descended to. Oh, yeah. At least Trump carries around Satan books in his pocket for good luck. I mean, according to his ex-wife, Marla Maples. I mean, that's MAGA, right? Let's see, Test. Shout out to Test. $1.5 trillion of fluff every year. The Pentagon Wars. Looks like Detroit. I think he's talking about Colombia. Desperate, murderous pigs. These aardvarks. Pink says, indeed. Shout out to Highland, too. Volpine. Was it not 7 countries in 5 years? Oh, they're talking about Wesley Clark. Yeah. Yeah. Something like that. We didn't quite get there in 5 years, but they are, as we can see, that agenda still applies that Wesley Clark talked about, right? Way back in the day. Indeed. Thank you guys for tuning in on the Odysee and keeping that chat lively and informative. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on X, Kick, Bitchute, Substack, Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube. Let's go to the chats over there. Shout out to Mac on the YouTube. Shout out to Gianna. Says Melania is literally an Epstein Island party hoe who effed Epstein kids and scum for money. Hey. Shout out to Paul on the Rumble. Ian, we need to fight for truth and life, driving out satanic evil. Who spotted the Epstein binder? It's like a main. Let's see here. That's what Max said. Who spotted the Epstein binder? Curious. Some very curious eyes. Let's see. Let me go back to the report. Who knows? It's on X, right? So who knows who initially? I could tell you it came. Lad Bible is like mainstream, right? They're the ones that reported it here. And then you could see here, this account, GBX on the X, but then it was linked through to these guys. They're named Dot at L Blackburn GIBI is the original post. Who originally found it, I don't know, but if you follow the links through, it's this account, but who knows? Who knows who originally found it, but there it is. And it appears, at least according to that report, this was the original report. If you link all the way through, click all the way through, right, which I did to get to here, but you can clearly see it right there, marked Epstein. AIPAC, Trump, Zionist puppet, shout out to Nix. I thought Iran started the war about 48 years ago. It was 47, but yeah. Shout out to Home. Shout out to Jay's over there. I can't even say your screen name. Let's see. We started the war 48 years ago when we gave honor to their hated Shah. Shout out to Jan, Chloe on the Rumble. Amanda on the Rumble. First on the YouTube, 2008 financial collapse incoming, and it's going to be delicious. It's going to be horrific, actually, but okay. West Coast of Canada for me, Amanda. Shout out to Canada, Amanda there on the Rumble. Joe, Coffee Breath. Let's see here. Where are we at? Griffin. You look like Malfoy's mother from Harry Potter. I don't get the reference, but okay. Al says, hello, Weaponized News. Happy Wednesday. Well, thank you, Al. They're on the Rumble for joining us. Happy Wednesday. Looks like we got some new Rumble audience coming in there. A few new. Shout out to Polonian. Thank you for tuning in and your super chat contributions. He says, all good, Sam. I just need to make my own content and stop being a useless eater. Jim, obviously enjoy spreading more rhetoric. Just couldn't stand back and listen to this BS. You must be another leftist Marxist. Really? Not really. Not at all, actually. Not at all. There, Jim on the YouTube. I sure hope Trump can end the war in Iran. Belcher says, could end at any time. Just declare victory and walk away. Say we're done. But now the fight shifted to control of the Strait of Hormuz and away from, oh my gosh, Iran has nukes. You know what I mean? Quite a few comments there, guys. I'm getting tired. I got to wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and commenting on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. Just going to see if I miss anybody. You'll be fine. Well, shout out back to you on the Rumble. Thank you for tuning in here. And Mac at the end, thank you for tuning in there, Mac. They say you can't believe nothing ex-wives say about their husbands. It's a compliment in some circles what she said about Trump carrying Satan books in his pocket. I don't think she meant for it to be demeaning in any way. I think she meant for it to be a compliment. You have to understand how you're going to take it. All right, friends, with that, as always, everybody do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Wednesday evening. We'll be back here on Thursday for more Weaponized News. Let's pray for peace. Have a great rest of your Wednesday evening.